hello. Here we are again, coming to you from the Paranormal World Show under the umbrella of Broadcast Team Alpha. We're coming to you from 44 different platforms out there, and one of them is the Conscious Awakening Network. Go visit them, consciousawakeningnetwork.org. You're going to like it over there. They got about 50 different shows or so. We've talked about all the things we need to know about. I spent some extensive time over there and I enjoyed myself. I think you will too. It's good information. So, yeah, my name is Aage here and I'm the host. And now, if you are watching us on YouTube, that's the place to be, because there I will be able to communicate with you afterwards. When you ask questions and stuff, I could be able to answer them. So we'll do that. And also, while you're there, please subscribe if you like what you hear and see, because that will help us a lot. And I've been sitting here thinking, and you know what can happen when you start thinking? Things happen. There is a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I never have. And until now, because this is it. I want to talk about someone, this guy, that is said to be born about 2,030 years ago. Now, there is this misconception saying that he was born 2,025 years ago, but that is incorrect. He was born approximately the year 4 or 5 BC. This man's name was Joshua. You know him as Jesus. There is a lot of information available to the diggers and the people that want to know, but they cannot find it anywhere else, especially in the book. You know, book means Bible. So they don't write about it because it doesn't serve the agenda. Now, there's a lot of people out there running around saying that, oh, Jesus never existed, because if he was such an incredible person at that time, they would be writing about him. Everybody would know about him. Well, yeah, actually, pretty much everybody did. But again, it does not serve the purpose of the church to talk much about it. But there are people that wrote about him. They wrote about him telling that he was a totally different man than what we have been led to believe. He was a spiritual teacher. He was a healer. And he was also a freedom fighter. Now, that's a new one. Yes, he was. Just as an upfront hint, before I go further, somewhere in the Bible it says, if you own 2 coats, sell one and buy a sword. Does that sound like somebody that was all love and roses and loving everybody? No. That was the spirit of freedom coming through. Because the Jews at the time was under the heel of the Roman Empire. And none of them liked it very much. So also I want to let you know that, yeah, we're calling him Jesus, but that's the Catholic Church nickname for him. That was never his name. So in your prayers, maybe you should start using his real name. What do you think will happen if we're both in the same room with a lot of people? I'm on one end and you're the other end, and you want to call my name and you call me Joe. Do you think I'll answer? I doubt it. But yeah, he was known under three names. One of them was Joshua bin Halachme. Bin Halachme, that came from Halachme was his father's last name, Joseph's last name. That was his official name. And then his contemporaries, they called him Joshua bin Joseph. Bin Joseph means son of Joseph. So that kind of made sense. But there was another one. And that was Joshua Nazorian. The word Nazorian, the Nazorians, they were a fanatical religious Jewish group that was also affiliated with the Zealots, Zelots, Zealots. The Zealots were the violent, militant branch of the Jewish faith. And they were fanatics. Their favorite thing to do was to catch the Roman soldiers in the back alleys and cut their throat, because they scared the soldiers to stay in their barracks so they would not be out there harassing the people. Yeah, there is writings to this. And this is something that, well, it says Joshua Nazorian. The main that is coming out of the language means from or part of or from. So there is an indication that he was part of the Nazorian group, because there is also known that one of the people that hung around him a lot, one of the disciples, he was a Zealot. That was, there's an association here. So there's a good likelihood that if he wasn't part of the group, he could at least sympathize with the freedom fighters. And that one that they had penned as part of the Senate was Judas. There were two Judases, Judas Iscariot and Judas Thaddeus. And there was Judas Iscariot that evidently was a part of the Zealots. So there is actually some writings in the Dead Sea Scrolls about the Messiah. There's a description of him. And this I got a hold of because in 1947, when this was found, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, the Jewish, the Israeli government, that was brand spanking new at the time, they got a hold of it and they were translating it. So they said, oh, it's going to take us a long time to translate this. And they took their time, but it was all done in about 2 years. They didn't tell us that because there were things in there they did not want us to know. To this day, there is almost half of the Dead Sea Scrolls that is classified top secret and nobody can read it. It's stored in the Israeli government. I wonder why. Do you think there could be things in there that could hurt or take away from the power of the Jewish faith? I think so. Now, there were writings in that there was that one small section of the Dead Sea Scroll that spoke about the Messiah. They told us what he looked like. They said he was tall, strong. His eyes were as the midday sky. His hair was as the ripe field of grain. See, back then, they didn't use colors. They didn't have name for colors like purple, yellow, green, blue. They didn't have those color names. They associated with something. When somebody had blue eyes, then that was as the sky was. And ripe field of grain, that was yellow. So now, if he looked like that, did he seem to be a Jew to you when his mom and supposedly his dad was a Jew? They would be a little dark-skinned and darker hair and brownish eyes, most likely. So there is a problem with this theory, especially when it comes to his father. There is writings to this. Joseph, he was a carpenter. He was a builder. He built homes. He built beds. He built anything. And he was away on a project building something. And it says when he came home, the woman that he had taken in to care for was pregnant. That was Jesus's mom. Now, he was away when this happened, but she also was a virgin. Well, does that make sense? Actually, I have no problem with that. Let me explain you why. I happen to know a lady. She was a virgin and she got pregnant after a missing time experience with an extraterrestrial contact. Now, I know very well. In fact, a week ago, we did a video interview show with her. You can go look it up. And extraterrestrials, they have technologies we do not understand. It appears to me as this little boy that was named later on Joshua. He was placed in the womb of the mother through their technology. And he was born and grew up and became the guy we know as Jesus. But there is some controversy around this one too, because when I did the research for this book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking and How to Access the Universal Consciousness, I found a document in the surviving Roman records saying that there were no records of Joshua before the age of 5. So we don't really know what happened. There are opposite stories that come out, and we have to go within, settle on one, and go with that. that's the best we can do. I am more so on the side of the virgin birth because I know extraterrestrial technology do that, and they do it all the time. There's quite a few ladies that had this happen. So anyway, that's my story actually. And when it talks to people that writes about him, the people that is running around saying he did not exist, they're wrong. There is things written about him. The Josephus, they write about him, and Pliny the Elder, you can look that up. And also, there are things in the surviving Roman records that speak of him, especially one document that I found that says, actually, it's printed in another book, but it said that the Messiah bought land outside of Rome in the year 63. What? Could he have bought land outside of Rome in the year 63 if he was executed on a cross? No. That's why I've been saying for a long time, and I caught a lot of flack over this. I'm saying it again, that he never died on the cross. So there's a hair on the soup here for the people that say he died for our sins. They need to look a little deeper. Maybe they're responsible for some of the stuff that they do themselves. So anyway, that's I got more notes here. So when it goes back to what it says in the Bible, we need to remember who created the Bible and why was it created. And as a comment, Jesus did not create Christianity. Not at all. Emperor Constantine did. He told 223 people, go to Nicaea, create a religion that will unify my empire. Why did he do that? Well, because he had scrimmages. He's got little wars all around his huge empire. And the Roman soldiers had to fight those wars. He looked at the Jews. There were no infighting with the Jews. They were totally thinking and acting as one within their faith. So he thought, if I can create a religion that everybody will go along with within my empire, I may have the same kind of peace as the Jews do. That's why he told the 223 people to go to Nicaea. He told them, create a religion that will unify my empire and do not emerge before you have done so. And these 223 people, they went there. They spent several years doing this. And they went back, found old written records, scrolls, books, tablets, and they took whatever was written as a spiritual writing. They took what they wanted out of it and kept it and wrote it into the long scroll that was on the table. And they burned the original, so the new writing became the original. And they took the writings from scholars, from other spiritual leaders, dating back thousands of years, and they credited to their new God. It's in the writing from Nicaea. While I was still back in Europe, I got a hold of a transcript from this church meeting at Constantinople, or Nicaea at the time. And it explains how they lied about some of the stuff that they inserted into the Bible. Now, the thing about the Bible is that there is an awful lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of love in that book. Take the love. It will make you better. There are things, there are contradictions. Know it for such and deal with it however you please and however you feel right. I read the book of the Bible once when I was 14 years old. We were mandated to do so to be confirmed. And it's a good book. There are things that, a lot of the things they created in Nicaea, it took them a year to put that first draft together, sent it to Constantine, and he said, oh, no, we're not going to write that. We're going to take this out. They took out a bunch of good stuff, good spiritual stuff that explained that the people did not have to go to the church to reach God. We are all part of God and have direct access all the time. That was in the first draft. But Constantine didn't like that. He wanted to be in charge, so he took a lot of that out. In fact, they sent it back to him, I think, 3 times, and he revised it, and they settled on one thing. And then it became official at that level of government, but it really didn't become a religion before the Council of Hippo, like I think about 70 years later. So there is some things that many of you should do some research on. And when it really comes down to the man, Jesus, let's talk a little bit about that too. Who was he? What did he teach? Where was he, especially in those years from the age of 12 to 30? What did he do there? Now we're getting into the good stuff. And the Bible says that at the age of 12, he was teaching in the temple. Well, he very well could have done that because he was a very sharp kid. And he may have had teachers. Maybe he didn't even talk about. I know those teachers may come and teach you things. So after the age of 12, he disappeared. Where did he go? What did he do? That's a good one. Now, there are writings to this in India saying that, yes, he went to India first. And he visited several temples. And he went from there to Tibet. How do we know that he was in Tibet? Well, he was there for several years because the Dalai Lama was asked one time, is there any evidence to that Jesus may have been in Tibet? And the Dalai Lama said, oh yeah, absolutely. He said, because we have old writings saying that there were 2 Hebrew boys, Hebrew young men that came here to study. And that was right about the time when he would have been there after he left Judea. And there was something about the name that I wasn't able to really get straight, but it sounded like it could have been Joshua. So there's something in the writings of Dalai Lama about that, and I remember decades ago, I remember reading that, and I should go back and see if I can find it. So the question was obviously, how long was he there and what did he study? Well, he studied, according to the Dalai Lama and some of the writings from these monasteries, ascension. He studied spiritual teaching, but he also learned about equality, that all people are equal. They have the same rights, but he also is known to have said, that's after that he came back to Judea, that women are more rooted in the the spiritual. I'm going to translate. I don't remember the word for it. There was a word there that represented spirituality, which makes sense to me. Mostly women are more spiritual than men are in their thinking because they are more connected to the earth. And when he came back, he was more of a Buddhist than a Jew in his religion and his spiritual teaching. When he came back and was teaching the Jewish men that women were equal to you, they have the same rights as you. Oh boy, that didn't go over too well with the Jews at the time, because back then women were kind of secondary. They were treated as property. The Muslims still do it today. They treat women as property. So it was a common thing back then. And that didn't go over too well with the Jews when he said they are equal to you. Now, there is very little known about the Eastern travels, but there is more known about what he came back. He went to Egypt, and he is also known to have stayed on an island in the Nile. That island, I think, had a name at the time, and I was never able to find that name, but it was a depository of scrolls and books from the library of Alexandria, and the library there, that burned down, and it burned down. Actually, it was so big, it was in several different places. Not all of it burned down. In 48 BC, there was a warehouse on the shore, on the harbor, that caught fire. And everything or much of what was in the warehouse of scrolls and old writings, that burned up. But when that happened, the managers of the library, they got wise to the fact that, oh boy, this could happen again. So they moved things to many different places. They moved it out. There was a big building, but they moved a lot of it out of there so that it wouldn't get destroyed, all of it, if one of the buildings burned down or was destroyed. And it says that he was studying purification rituals, and he was teaching while he was at the monastery. And it also says that he may have visited Persia because he was seeking Zoroastrian wisdom. Zoroastrian wisdom. And that, you need to research this one because that goes very deep into how somebody being alive can take the mind and what they call it, their thought and intelligence and travel throughout the universe. So there's some things in there that need to be researched more, and I think you can do that. Zoroastrian wisdom, and also he is now Edgar Casey has some interesting things to say about this. He said that Jesus or Joshua, he came back to Judea at the at the age of 30, and he was came back to speak to teach spirituality and freedom. Freedom, that brings you back to being a freedom fighter again. So remember also, Jesus did not start any religion. That was done by the Emperor Constantine. And he ordered that to be done. And he had been been incarnated several times on earth, according to Casey, Edgar Casey. He said he had been Melchizedek and several other very prominent spiritual leaders in the past. So he came, Edgar Casey said he came from a higher spiritual order, come back here to teach people about love and cooperation and obviously other things. So that is something that I'm okay with, that because I understand a little bit about the incarnation process. It is very much voluntary. We do have a choice if we're going to come back. If we have a real good purpose, we could choose to come back to work on that purpose. And if you want to know more about the reincarnation, and in fact a lot more about Joshua ben Halachman, you can get that in this book. Oh, no, where is it? There it is. Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. I wrote this book for the doers and the ones that really want to learn some things at a higher order, because it teaches you how to use your mind in ways you normally would think would be impossible. So that's a good point for you. You can go to Amazon and you can find it. You put that title in, or you put my name in it, and it shows up. So now, there's probably a lot more I should say, but I think I want to leave it for now. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe. That'll help us a lot. And if you have questions, put them down below in the comments on YouTube. That's the best place to see and comment, because that we can monitor a lot of the other 44 different platforms. We don't get numbers. We don't have a way to get comments or anything like that. So I hope to hear from you. And until next time, be good to each other.